one time. Alrighty, Kathy, could you do the roll call
Yep, Janelle Allen,
here?
Rich Bianculli, Don Call,
Here.
Jennifer Skinner,
I'm here.
Emily Stacy.
Here. Okay, we'll stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, agenda adjustments. I would like to suggest that we table all of 10
Okay.
discussion items until January.
Because their thing's not ready. Okay. Yep.
Yes. Because some people have
Yep.
memory issues. Yeah. And it's the holidays. So, do we need to vote on that?
No, I think you have consensus unless people.
Rich, we're gonna do away with the discussion section tonight.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Alrighty. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes of the regular school committee meeting of November 18th.
So moved. Second.
Okay, did anybody have any corrections or anything? I think there was one spelling one. Shabig is C-H-E, not A. Okay. That's it. Okay, so if there were no others, all in favor of accepting the minutes? Okay. It's a vote. Okay, consent agenda.
There's nothing for the meeting.
Okay. Public comments?
Seeing none.
Seeing none. Teacher presentation.
I'm gonna let John introduce our teachers.
Yeah, and I'm going to.
History.
So today we're going to give you a literacy overview about our K-2 pilot, and I have Chrissy Bennett and Amanda McGinnis with me. Chrissy Bennett's our first grade teacher, and Amanda is our literacy coach and interventionist. And we're just going to kind of stand here as we present so you can kind of see the screen. But I'm going to start the overview with a little bit of history in the overview, and then we'll go for a current K-2 pilot. So Ms. Bennett and Ms. McGinnis will talk about that. They'll talk about the school visits, and then we'll go through the next steps. So in 2022 and 23, my first year here, and Ms. Bennett will definitely attest to this, I sent out a lot of surveys because I was trying to find out where we were as a school, what was important, what were priorities. And the first survey that we put out, the priority was clearly writing and instructional practices. We've been working on that ever since. So in 2023, we looked at some writing programs, and we kind of came to the point where we were going to implement collaborative classroom being a writer. And in 2024, not only did we pilot that in K-5, we had 3 teachers, not only did we implement being a writer, that year we piloted K, 2, and 5 piloted being a reader. And so we went through that whole year piloting, but at the end of the year, kindergarten and second grade teacher asked if they could look at some other programs. 3 through 5 decided to move forward this year with it, but the K and 2 asked if they could pilot some other programs, and so we looked at 4 other programs, and we kind of got to the point where we were going to pilot into reading, and that was in K and 2. And Ms. Bennett was going to pilot CKLA. And so we're going to kind of discuss how that pilot's going, how the kids are engaged, and how they like that program, and then we'll talk about next steps.
Alright, so we're going to start with CKLA. I have to leave my baby here.
Do you need a rocker?
He liked the vibration.
Dedicated
He liked the vibration.
Oh, Mrs. You're ready.
He already is a little
Move over.
gurgling around over here.
I've been piloting CKLA, which you can see stands for Core Knowledge Language Arts. It comes from the company Amplify. I really wanted to try piloting this program mostly from the knowledge content areas that were available within it. It's split into 2 different sections. The skills section, which is focused on your foundational skills, your phonics, phonemic awareness, decoding. The writing is more of a guided writing, focusing on your conventions and spelling of the words and sounds that we've been working on. Then the knowledge piece is the, as she put, content-rich units, which I agree with. They're very thick, juicy, meaty content areas, and I'll show on the next slide in a little bit, that these kids will continue to learn these content areas. My current high schooler is actually learning some of the same things our first graders are learning right now, and somehow it's working. I also really liked the rich vocabulary that's within it. We are constantly learning new vocabulary words and practicing them throughout. The skills piece has a really nice progression. We spent a good chunk of our first 2 months reviewing what they should have gleaned from kindergarten. This worked out really well this year because kindergarten was using something different last year, so they needed to basically relearn everything that they would have learned last year had we been using CKLA in kindergarten. So it was a little bit of a slow start learning that skills piece, but then once we moved off that review unit and got into the nitty-gritty, I'm starting to see some really nice skills in their reading. I brought in some readers. The baby will pass them out. I'll just put a few here. These were the initial readers, the snapshots. And then this is the one we're in right now with Gran. Gran is a wild, wild lady. So they're built as chapter books instead of really dry decodables that the old-fashioned decodables were like the cat sat on the mat, how about that? These are billed with each new chapter based on the skills that we've added that week. They underline the tricky words that we've added, which would be your high-frequency words that are also not decodable, plus the spelling patterns they make bold, so the kids see that and remember what they should be learning. So anyway, the students really love these readers. They've been really successful with these. At first I went, oh my, this is a lot of text for an early first grader. But it's happened. So they have really enjoyed that aspect of it. They love those building stories. I also have noticed with this geography keeps coming around and back and again through both the informational knowledge units and the just through these readers. They go to the UK in this first reader. They visit Scotland and they visit Stonehenge. They go all over the place. And then that one, Gran, is all over the place as well too. So my kids are very curious about geography, both internationally and nationally. Do you want to scoot the slide? You can see they're reading here, but talking about some of the units. One of our first units, and Lou was really helpful. After he had his surgery, he came in. They had just learned about all of the body systems, and they could name them for you if you went in and asked. And so when he came in and started talking about his surgery, they had really good questions for him about where and why and how. And it was basically the finality to our unit. It was a teachable moment. He walked in, we used him up. So, but you could see that what they had learned landed because they were asking him some really good questions. And then this was just a map of, we went around the world reading fairy tales and folk tales from many different countries. And what they did was they chose tales that originated in different countries that had similarities to each other, heavy similarities. And then they would combine those 3 stories. So they're doing a lot of good work. Here you see a little guy, they're doing some comprehension pages. This is more of that guided writing that they're doing based on the readers that they're doing. And one more thing, they really emphasize that when asking questions, whether it's in knowledge or skills, that children respond in full sentences. Because when they're used to responding in full sentences, that will carry over into their writing when they're being asked a question. Then they can write in full sentences as well, not just write a one-word answer. There's a lot to it, but if anyone has any questions, I am happy to answer.
Did you folks visit like another school that was implementing this?
We did, that's part of, that will be at the end of the
That's
slide,
cool.
but we did get to visit a school that's using CKL, Stanford
Right,
is using it
Oh,
right
okay.
now. So that went pretty well, but that will come back around.
That's good.
We'll
Are
circle
there,
back.
are there any huge differences, sorry. Are there any
No, you're fine.
huge differences between what you were using last year versus?
I did not pilot anything last
Okay.
year, so yes, compared to what we were using before. I'm glad you asked that because I found we were having some big gaps in the skills portion of our teaching, where we were working on skills and foundational pieces, but it wasn't consistent across the grades. So we found that when testing, we found some gaps that kids were missing some pieces that were really important to be able to progress. So that's why we're really looking for something that's heavy in the science of reading and heavy with those foundational skills so that they don't miss that.
So these are the books that you're using in your classroom?
Right now, yes. So this was the first reader,
Wow.
and this
because
one is currently.
This one?
It's a
I
lot
mean,
of
that
text,
one
believe
too.
me.
For a first reader, that's got a lot of text, but wow.
The thing we're finding with this is when we first looked at how this is really rigorous, it's something that we're not used to here.
Right.
And so what our first graders have shown us is that they're ready. They
They're capable.
they're capable. They can handle this level of rigor, especially like Mrs. Bennett talked about with the content part, the knowledge strands that come up. So the CKLA is broken up into 2-hour slots, and there's an hour of skills and there's an hour of knowledge.
Wow.
And so that knowledge section is really content heavy. And when we first looked at it, we were like, she was like, my ninth grader's learning this kind of stuff right now. But when these kids get to ninth grade, right, like they're gonna be better equipped to take on those types of topics because they've heard of the body systems and they've heard of ancient Mesopotamia and all the, and
It's coming.
it is coming. I mean, we saw that in Stanford when we went to, and we'll get into it more, but some of the language and the vocab that these kids are building, they've really risen to the occasion and shown us like they're ready for this type of rigor. We just needed an opportunity to present it to them. So.
And I'd like to say something about Miss Bennett. I really admire about her is that back a couple summers ago, I said, hey, we have some science of reading PD that's going to take up some of your summer time, and she's like, okay. And the state paid her, but she said okay. And when she came out of that learning, she was like, wow.
He should have prefaced it with, I had a very different philosophy of teaching and learning to read because I came from the dark ages. And it really changed my thinking around teaching kids to read.
And so my admiration comes from a 20-year teacher deciding to consider shifting and then shifting.
2005 wasn't the dark ages, believe me.
Well, it was 2003, and actually it was 1999 before he made.
And we could go really deeper into it, but teaching what we understand about how the brain learns how to read. What we knew about it in 2005 is very different from what we know about it today. So if you want me to come back and give you some information about that?
That'll be
And
another,
how our brains
another
learn how to
reading.
read, we could do that another time, but like our thinking, and my thinking has shifted in the, 14 years I've been in education now, so same thing, now that we're seeing how kids learn how to read and the idea of words being decodable and having to teach them explicit sounds and things before we expect them to read there is no word guessing anymore, we're teaching them everything they need so that they don't have to guess words in books and things like that, so.
Right.
Anyways, I'll step away from my lecture on that, but I'm gonna move into reading if
No, I
you're
think that's
ready,
fine.
okay.
Sadly, no one's here that's in the
So,
trenches of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of fill in for Mrs. Alcester and Mrs. Vacchiano here. I've been in their rooms at length during their reading blocks of the day. So kindergarten and second grade right now are piloting Into Reading, which is a Houghton Mifflin Harcourt program. If you're familiar with HMH, they have been around for a really long time. The focus here, it's a bit of a different application from CKLA. It's more of a balanced approach that integrates phonics instruction with daily routines and then also has a wide variety of read-alouds and kind of teaches topics to kind of get to that comprehension and vocabulary piece. I'm gonna spend a little bit more time on this slide. Oh, some of my pictures aren't showing up, that's really odd. Oh, I'm gonna skip to second grade for now. So you can kind of see some of the things that are included with the Into Reading. There's some good digital pieces, which we didn't really touch on with CKLA, but some of the graphics you saw on the previous slides speak to that. So there's digital components, there's some vocabulary, sound walls. Both Into Reading and CKLA, ultimately we chose to move forward with piloting those this year because they had similar foundations. They both were built within the Science of Reading framework. They both have strong focus in phonics, decoding, comprehension, vocabulary. They cover all aspects of reading that we want our students to be able to attain. And so these are some pictures from second grade. Students have what's called a My Book here for second grade. It is a compilation of many stories. It's similar but quite different to the books you have in front of you. It's more of it's a larger book and it has multiple stories built within it. The main difference I would say is that the characters in these stories for CKLA carry over from story to story. These are different stories. They go with the different modules that the teachers are teaching across the year and across the units. But they are engaging. They cover various genres and topics. And then, there's a lot of read-aloud texts that come with the program. And then, like I said, there's a lot of digital components that are built in to increase engagement with the kids and allow the teacher to have those opportunities to engage them. My pictures aren't going to show up for kindergarten, but this is kind of how we are going about teaching sounds now. You might have heard sight words, high frequency words, and then in CKLA they call them tricky words, and in Into Reading they call them heart words because they're words that you remember. So it's just a matter of, and if you've had kids that have come up through, it's the language on that changes all the time. But basically, they talk a lot about sounds sounds or patterns that you can sound out, and ones that don't make the sound that you would expect them to make in that word type thing. So with that, Into Reading is, like I said, it's built on the same things as CKLA. It's just taught more together than having the separate strands. Being in both rooms, I don't know that I would say that I've seen benefits to one or the other. As long as the content is being taught across the board, I haven't noticed that there's it's better that the phonics and the vocab and comprehension are integrated, or they're kept separate. I think that's really just more of a preference type of thing. But I know I don't have as detailed of a info to give you about Into Reading. I am seeing it taught, I'm helping teach it a little bit, but we'll talk a little bit more about some of the supports we're offering the teachers during their pilot. Any questions about Into Reading before I move on? John, do you want to start with the first one?
So, the school committee knows the number I like is free. And so with these pilots has been very helpful because the unpacking of the units, we did it with being a reader and being a writer through our REAP grant, which is our rural education grant. It provides funding for professional learning. So it allowed me to take some of that funding that we use for summer programming because we usually have enough to support this kind of work, and so teachers were paid during the summer to come in for 4 hours and unpack it with Amanda and kind of get prepared for the school year. We did that for being a reader, but we also did it with CKLA and with Into Reading. So it's just very helpful to not have to pull from the general budget and use grant funding to provide this professional learning.
And then on top of the unpacking that we did at the beginning of the year, teachers have also been offered coaching opportunities with me on a regular basis, as well as program support, and I'll speak a little bit about Into Reading. Program support, Into Reading has an online, and a completely online teacher component that has a lot of great resources through the portal online. They also have what's called a coachly, so they have like a live coach that they can tap into that probably knows a lot more about interreading than I do at this point. I can help the teachers with the general teaching practices and implementation, but when it comes to specific HMH interreading questions, they have the coachly there at their fingertips to tap into, to ask questions that are specific to the program that have helped myself and the kindergarten and second grade teachers learn a little bit about the program as we went along.
And real quick on that, and the positive thing about having a literacy coach here is we, in this situation, we don't have to spend a lot of money because we have internal capacity to support the teachers, so that's been a big plus as well.
And then for CKLA,
I have been able to meet through virtual meetings with a coach for CKLA. She has been incredible, actually, really responsive. There was one day I couldn't log in to show any of my slides or any of my technology that day, and I sent her an email and she got back to me within 3 minutes, giving me a fresh login so I could get in. So, but we have regular meetings. We go over my concerns. At the beginning, there were many because it's just getting used to a new program, and I think that's natural for any program. But very responsive, very willing to work with me, and has also given me a lot of other materials to look for, links to other, helpful links, helpful tips, and linking me to other resources that other teachers have used or created. So it's been very helpful to have that coach at our fingertips.
Yeah, and peer observations. So we're finally at the point we've done the school visits, and they'll talk more about the school visits. But on Friday and on Monday, we're doing peer visits. So as an example, Chrissy is CKLA, so Jen Alcesser and Miranda will go into Chrissy's classroom and observe a knowledge and skills lesson. And then on Monday, Jen and Chrissy will go into Miranda's, and then Miranda and Chrissy will go into Jen. So we're doing some peer observations so that they can see what does it look like here.
and we've already had some great opportunities to see what it looks like elsewhere. Thanks to both our contacts through CKLA and our contacts with HMH, we were able to find districts here in Maine that use both programs. So we went on November 3rd to Turner Primary School. All 5 of us went, the K-2 teachers, myself and John, spent the day at Turner Primary School where we observed lessons in first and second grade. I don't think we got to see kindergarten that day, but a couple different grade levels. We got to see different components of the lessons and how those work, and it was, I think we'll kind of say the same thing for CKLA, but it's nice to be able to do that, be like, oh, that's how that could look, and that's what that's for, and this is how this I could do this differently. So, so yeah, we went on the 3rd and went to see interreading. We also had time built in between observations of lessons. The people at Turner Primary that coordinated this for us were able to get coverage for their teachers to sit with us after we watched a lesson to debrief with them, ask questions about the program, get their feedback about how it's going for them. So it was nice to be able to talk with teachers that are doing it already. And these, I also wanted to just point out that these are schools that have adopted this and are within full implementation. I think Turner has been using interreading for 2 years, and Sanford has been doing it for, this is their 2nd year?
Yeah.
I
Both
think.
were pretty, I started it.
2nd or 3rd year is pretty new for them, but we're in that shift, I think, right now where we're going to see most districts are adopting new reading programs because we've seen that shift in reading instruction. So that, there's kind of that need for that shift right now. And then we visited Sanford Pride Elementary School 2 weeks later. That was the 4 of us, the K-2 teachers and I went, and we observed, I think it was again first and second grade, CKLA lessons. Do you want to speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, we actually got to visit with a teacher who had her doctorate actually in literacy and more specifically phonemic awareness and phonological skills. And so it was really interesting to watch her interpret CKLA for the skills domain. And we also, they had many classrooms that we were able to pop into, so it was neat to see the interpretation being very similar among all the classrooms, but also they were able to put some of their teacher autonomy into how they displayed their bulletin boards and how they presented it to their students, but yet the kids were all getting the same information. I would say that the kindergarten in both schools, we found were going rogue a little, so they weren't using the programs that the first and second were using. So they weren't using interreading here or to its entirety, and they weren't using it there, so we were there to see the programs we were using, so they invited us into those classrooms, but they said that they're not actually doing that right now. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's why we didn't end up in the kindergarten for both of those schools. We just do that for Gen Ed.
And then at Sanford Pride, Turner Primary, I think, doesn't have a coach. Was that what that was?
No, Turner Primary has a district coach.
So, but at Sanford Pride, we were able, the literacy coach there led our day. She was a wealth of knowledge. And so we were able to sit down with her and get a lot of information from her about how things work. And I think we walked away with a lot more information about how CKLA works and could look from that visit as well.
We had quite a few staff members join us during our lunch time too, to come in and, you know, answer our questions or just share some of the pieces that they enjoy the most about the programs. They were saying, go to Sanford if you want to visit the school. They were very welcoming to us. I was really impressed.
Yeah, they even said, like, if you adopt CKLA,
We'll
like,
be your friends.
we'll be your friend. Because we were like, because they kept talking a lot about teams. Well, on your first grade team, your second grade team, we were like, well, she is the first grade team. And they were like, well, we'll be your team, like, you know, whatever you need kind of thing. So that was nice.
Did those schools have other models before they adopted this, or is this all so new that there was no one for them to kind of mentor off of?
That's a great
That is
question.
a good question. I think it was different. I know Turner, like, it seemed, and they were very transparent with us, they kind of brought into reading in really fast and then realized they needed to pump the brakes a little bit and put a little bit more intention into their implementation. So I didn't get the sense that there was a lot of models there. And then at Sanford, they didn't really.
I believe they said they did not, nobody piloted it. So there wasn't any, this work that we're doing here, which is really helpful, and I am very appreciative of it. Because we have had in the past, not during John's time, but we have had in the past a program placed on our desk and good luck kid, go get 'em,
Right.
Tiger, with very little support, very little coaching, so.
The way that
This
this
has been really
pilot, I mean,
nice.
even since, like John was saying, my first year was 23, 24. We started talking about, like, we need something that is going to align the classrooms so that every kid isn't getting something different every year, and we just weren't that cohesive, and now we're bringing that together, and so this journey has helped us to get there, and I think it's really important to take this time to do this so that we can see this implementation happen more than just a couple, you know what I mean? We don't want it to like come in and then it fades out because the initial implementation of it wasn't well thought out and it wasn't intentional, so.
And my philosophy has always been you have to go slow to go fast. And we have a great group of professionals here that have been willing to do the work, and so I think that's why we're where we are.
Yeah, I'm impressed with the process that you've undergone. It's comprehensive and well thought out.
How,
Really great.
how do these programs align with, what are we using in 3, 4, 5?
Being a reader, so
Being a reader.
3, 4, and 5 are using being a reader and being a writer, which is all from collaborative classroom.
Right.
It's a great question, and it's something that I've spent a lot of thought time on, as like thinking how are we gonna take the K to 2
You want it to.
and transition them.
yeah.
I mean, it's scope and sequence wise in terms of like when things are introduced, it you know, maybe doesn't align. But what we're seeing in both of these programs, K to 2, is strong skills progression and super strong content. So it's going to give our kids the skills that they need to have them be ready for what they're coming into in 3, 4, and 5. Grades 3, 4, and 5, for the most part, in reading, are very vocab and comprehension focused. In theory, kids have built up most of their foundational skills by the time they get to 3rd grade. Now, that we could go down a whole rabbit hole. Collaborative Classroom has the means to fill in those gaps that may exist, but the main focus of the 3 through 5 is vocab and comprehension. So when I think about that question, Denal, I think, both CKLA and Interreading have strong content and build vocab and comprehension in a way that will allow kids to be ready for what they're going to be introduced to throughout being a reader.
And I would quickly say on that, we're working in that vein, but to me is we want the teachers teaching something that they're comfortable teaching that's best for kids. And I certainly wouldn't want it to say, okay, K-2, you're gonna do collaborative classroom, they agree 3 through 5, and then have them not committed to that. So I thought it was just a better idea to let's look at some pilots in primary grades, and we'll figure out how to connect the two, and we're working on it.
Well, it sounds like the foundational skills are really working with both of these.
So far from what I can see, it's really a difference. I'd also like to say that the learning routines that are in, at least CKLA, I can't speak for Interreading, but I'm imagining, they're very similar to those routines that are in Being a Reader and Being a Writer. So it's funny because I did Being a Writer, and so I know those routines really well, and they're so similar. So when they move on up the grades, they're going to go, oh yeah, we know how to do this, we know how to do fair share.
Yeah, the cooperative structure is built within most good reading and writing programs may have a different name, but they are essentially the same kinds of, think, pair, share, turn and talk to your friend. There's a lot of talk in the 3 through 5 about active listening, which I've heard coming up in the lower grades. So it's a lot of the same basic structures, which helps align that across all grades.
And with regard to Turner and Sanford, did they have like sister programs for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, or did they have something totally different?
In Turner,
It went all the way
it's up to
through the grades, 5th, 6th grade.
6th grade. Yeah, they were using Interreading all the way up through the elementary grades.
Oh, okay.
In Sanford, I want to say that they also were using.
Yeah, the only grade that wasn't, because they were still wrapping up with K for Me, is that correct? I think they were wanting to move into CKLA, but they were transitioning. They were still in transition mode for kindergarten. Kindergarten needs to take their time.
And both of the schools that we visited, it's worth actually highlighting that both schools we visited are pre-K to 2 schools.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
there is kind of that break there where we're through 5th grade. There is kind of that distinction there that they only go to 2nd grade, so we didn't even see those upper grades. Next steps. So up next, coming up after we do our peer observations later this week and next week, we're going to be using our rubric to kind of assess these 2 programs, kind of decide, of what we're looking for in a program, how does this line up with what we're looking for and what are best practices in teaching reading to kids. And then we will eventually make a decision, and I'm not sure the timeline on that. but-
Yeah, so we hope to make a decision in January, beginning of January. So that way I know cost of a program. So we'll have to put that cost in the budget for this coming year. It shouldn't be too far off from either way than what we paid for Being a Reader last year. And then the process is, once we decide on a program, I have to get with the company and create an MOU with them so that they can quickly provide us, prior to that payment in July of the program, to provide us all the materials we need, whether it's Interreading or CKLA, to show up at the school so teachers can have time to unpack and prepare to teach that for the rest of the year. And then, of course, we'll get the funding from the unpacking again from our REAP funds, so that we're not pulling from the budget and the teachers compensate for the work.
Any questions?
Do you guys, are you leaning one way or another at this point? I know kindergarten and second grade aren't here right now, but do you know?
I know they are both very happy with what they're doing. I am open. I have seen the benefits, but I know that the benefits are within both programs. So, I think the rubric will be very helpful to really just look at it in that way, like pros and cons. It's like when you're dating a guy, and you don't know.
Yeah, I think the rubric completion is gonna be pretty crucial because it will help us quantify what we're using and kind of to a point take the subjectivity out of it, of like, oh, I like what I'm doing, but like, we want the evidence behind it, and we don't wanna just, personally, I don't wanna just pick a program because somebody likes it, I wanna pick a program because it's what's best for our kids.
Right. And the interesting thing, when they came back from the Sanford visit, that I was hearing things that I haven't heard yet. And so I was like, oh, okay, that must have been a good visit. And so I think that's gonna, hopefully that will take the bias out of our decision making. We can do what we always do here, is do what's best for kids.
To go off of that, we have to do it right, kid-wise, like, is there gonna be some sort of assessment on the kids of how they did for each program? Or is it more of like an intuitive, like of the teacher saying, like, this is what we're seeing?
I mean, both K and 2 with interreading, and I know Chris with first grade have been fully implementing these programs down to the assessments. So we definitely will have and be able to consider assessment data and how that's lining up with showing their takeaways from what they're learning.
It's part of the broader conversation.
Yeah, and there's part of the rubric includes
What the assessment?
assessment, questions around assessments and how we're seeing that line up, so.
Any questions? Well, I would like to thank the staff. We have a very professional presentation. They always do a great job, and so thank
Thank you.
Amanda. and
Yeah, thank you.
You guys did some really thoughtful questions that I really appreciated.
Good.
So,
Stuff.
yeah,
Good stuff.
are you all set with
Thank
this?
you.
You can just shut it off.
Thanks for staying
Yeah,
late
thanks for
today.
staying.
I said, this is welcome, because now I didn't have to make dinner for my family.
You get home, it's already.
They may be starving when I get home, but too bad.
Thank you again.
Have fun, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Lou.
Yeah, I have two brief items for you. The November enrollment data in your packet, there's already been changes to it. After I sent this out, we have two new students
He's taking my thunder.
in Sebago. And we picked up a girl in kindergarten, and that gets the number to 10 instead of 9 girls, total of 14. And then in 4th grade, we picked up a female student. That brings that number to 10 and a total of 19. So we're growing. So we're at 118.
She's starting tomorrow.
Oh, they started
Started
today.
today. Oh,
Today, yeah. And then under the sped count, the special education numbers, we have a decrease of 1. We discharged a student at the Lakes Region High School. So we now have 8 at Lakes Region High School and 9 at Lakes Region Middle School. So just wanted to keep those numbers out there for you and keep that in the forefront as we look to budget season.
Is that just like a family move?
I think,
I could explain it on my report if you want, Lou.
yeah, well, did I skip over your report? You're next, so you can do it next, yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds good. And then I also put in your packet, there were some things I needed to tweak. Kathy picked up on a number error that was reversed. So I fixed and I revised the MSAD 61 tuition history that I provided you. So that's that, and I'm gonna yield the floor to John. Go ahead, John.
So-
Unless you have any questions for me. Okay.
So that was nice to get these two people, because if you recall, last time we met, we put a new process to bring kids in. And we followed that process to the T. They contacted us last Thursday. They've been here for under a year, so they contacted us for enrolling here. We provided the paperwork for them on Friday. I met with the family on Monday. I gave them a nickel tour at the end of the day, where they got to meet the teachers in the building, got to see where things were at, what we offer. Very nice family. And a matter of fact, I know the principal at Crooked River, so I called him to get a little info, and they were very forthcoming. Great kids,
Yeah,
great
they are,
kids.
very nice.
And very excited to start school. And so we were able to bring that process to show staff, look how smooth it went, because the kids showed up with their iPads, their Chromebook, their logins, their emails, all the things they needed, their Cubby sticker, the works, so it worked out really well. But away from kids, well, not away from kids, but building-wise, the outdoor classroom, Peak Timber Works, and Michael Courier. For the hardscape, I reached out to Cameron Willie, Shelley's son, and he gave me a nice price. So combined to do all the work, with the exception of the tin roof, the estimated cost is $17,000. So Cameron can do the excavating, he can do the hardscaping. He's already talked and met with Michael Courier, so they're planning on, if everything goes well, planning on April, putting it all together during April break, so kids can go back and go, wow. And then with that, I would like to talk to the school committee down the road about a dedication to a man we all know, and to invite his family for that sometime at the end of the school year. Also in the furnace room, Friday we'll install a heater appropriate for that space that will keep that furnace warm all the time. And so that will be installed. Also the ventilation in the bathroom won't be installed Friday, it will be beginning of next week. So it was interesting, the ventilation that was in there from when the building was built was just pushing all the lovely odor up into the ceiling so it could spread throughout the school. So that's going to be fixed for the staff as well. We just did the
Can you
curriculum.
mention the name of the gentleman for the dedication, because there may be some new members
Yeah,
that don't know.
so David Galen, our former principal, that passed away after my first year. Superintendent, yes, yes. That passed away after my first year. We're going to dedicate it to him. And that was a conversation we had years ago about that dedication. And so I'm going to find a nice plaque that will last and fit in with the structure itself. So, yeah.
Thank you, John.
And so curriculum, we just did that, and we presented to you our literacy pilots for this year and what we'll be moving into next year. The other piece is next year will be, we're already putting the committee together for math curriculum review. We're going to shake it up a little bit. We're going to, the committee's going to pick 4 curriculum support programs, and then we're going to start out by visiting schools next year that are in full implementation, so that they can kind of see how do these programs look in the classroom. They can talk to teachers, and then we can kind of narrow it down ahead of time and then pilot. And so that will start next year. Current events, we have the winter concert at the town hall. I went up there today with Wendy Lee and Cameron and made sure we had enough chairs, made sure the sound system was going to be appropriate. We'll be setting that up this Monday for that Tuesday evening performance. And Wendy will be putting more stuff out, and I'll be putting more information out to parents. Also, on December 17th, 2 to 5, we'll be going to a Christmas Carol at Portland Stage. It will be close because it gets over at 12-ish, so we're not going to be able to stay for the debrief or whatever that piece is, because Ron has to be at the high school by 1:30, so we're going to be cutting it close, but we'll get there. Kids will be taking bag lunches from school or from home. And I do want to report that my wife, the lovely woman she is, has finished up all the purchases for Holly Jolly Helper, and we're going to support over 25 kids this year with a cost of about $3,500. And so she loves doing it, so God love her, I let her do it. I organize the upfront stuff, and then I do the stuff when we return to school, but it's nice, we have 25 kids with a support teacher, I think that's the most we've had in a
It
couple
is
of
the
years.
most,
Wow,
yeah.
that's very cool.
And then the last thing I have, Sebago Connect this Wednesday, if snow doesn't disrupt that in the afternoon. But it's so far, it gives me an opportunity every 2 weeks to talk to staff about things staff want to talk about. So we're gonna keep pushing on with it and keeping the lines of communication open. And that's it.
Thank you, John.
Okay, we've tabled discussion items. So, for action items, we have a second read for assignment of students eligible for grades 6 through 12 to intra-district schools, file code JGA. Second read,
Yeah, it's a second read and adoption. I also want to mention while you're on the topic, I had a nice conversation with Maggie, and she's supportive of the policy, and we had a good conversation.
Good.
So I followed up with her after the meeting, so it was good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I am looking for a motion to adopt policy JGA.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay.
Thanks for putting that together.
Thank you
Yes.
for your support. It
That
needed to
was
get done.
great.
It did, yeah.
Yeah. And just informational items, are we doing an executive session?
Yes, I
or
have
no?
to do a couple things with you, yeah.
Okay.
It won't take long.
Information items, we have the outdoor education building, John's already covered that. Spice is presenting to us here on January 27th, which will be our next meeting. And budget season starts, Rich.
Sure does.
January 8th is our first budget meeting at 3:30.
You've already met on that, and we're ready to go.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Yep.
So whether you want to be here in person or over the phone. or-
Yeah, I can be there, yeah.
Another budget meeting on 15th of January at 3:30. And then the 27th of January, we have operations at 5, our workshop at 6, and our regular meeting at 7. Okay. Is there anything else we need to do before we move to go into executive session?
So,
Oh, I'm all set.
Okay.
I'll move to go into executive session pursuant to,
Oh, wait.
it's 1 MRSA subsection 405-6C economic development.
Okay, do we have a second? Second. Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Great.
Oh, I gotta stand
Are we saying here?
I'm gonna sit over here so I can see
Yeah,
you
we can
folks.
just
I don't
take
like
that.
not being able to see
We're
you.
fine.
Are we ending?
Yeah, we're good.
We're in executive.